Our next speaker has won numerous awards for her reporting on animal issues. She's produced 2 award-winning documentaries, and she's the founder and director of Unchain TV. For 6 years, she hosted a show on CNN Headline News, and she's also been an anchor news reporter in Los Angeles and in New York. Please welcome Jane Velez-Mitchell. Hello, Jane.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. And Michael, by the way, is one of our great contributors, and he goes live all the time on Facebook in Europe at those cubes. And I want to talk to you, Michael, about also going live on TikTok, because that's where we can get a lot of views as well. And some of our volunteers like Tony, Shale, and Lindsay Baker go live on TikTok a lot. I'm going to share my screen. Speaking of Lindsay Baker, we just published this video because we need some good news, right? This just got published on Unchain TV. This is a victory, a huge victory. You can hear me, guys, right? You
Yes.
can hear me, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let me play this.
Breaking news, the fence confining the elk at Point Reyes National Seashore has finally come down. In a monumental victory for environmental advocates, a groundbreaking $30 million settlement will eradicate private ranching from this cherished area. This change allows the elk to roam free for the first time in decades. Activist Jack Gescheit, who has tirelessly advocated for the elk, joins us to share his insights. While wildlife advocates celebrate this pivotal shift towards restoring the park's ecosystem, ranchers are feeling the pressure as the elk venture onto their lands. Hi there, Jack. Thanks for joining us. Tell us what's the latest. What's going on now with this breaking story?
Hi, Lindsay. Good morning, everyone. An historic deal really has occurred now. One of 2 ongoing lawsuits, both of them about 3 years long, has been reached a negotiated settlement in which, to be very brief about it, all 3 elk herds at Point Reyes National Seashore will finally be reunited, which has never been the case. The fenced Tule elk, so-called Tule elk reserve, which was deadly in killing elk because they couldn't get out during drought seasons, that fence is already partially dismantled. Excuse me, I've got a cold. The rest of the fence will come down. Those elk will be free to mingle and mix and mate with the other 2 freer ranging herds. I don't call any free ranging because of the cattle ranches, but that's the other part of this very significant settlement, which is 12 of 14 ranches and all 6 dairies and 6 beef ranches, the 2 different kinds of cows that are exploited in Point Reyes National Seashore, will be moving out. They've agreed voluntarily, signing a deal, taking multi-million-dollar payments to leave Point Reyes National Park in the next 15 months.
This is a huge victory. Wow. How fantastic. I know Lindsay Baker is watching. Well done, your interview, Lindsay. And I can tell you that this is a huge victory. We had videos of animal activists risking arrest to bring water to the Tule elk who were being systematically deprived of water by the ranchers so that the ranchers could use that water in that land for the cows. And Point Reyes National Seashore is just an iconic national park where millions of tourists come not to look at cows in factory farm conditions or in hutches, but to enjoy the ocean, which was being polluted by the feces from the cows. So this is a big victory, and it just shows you when animal activists like Jack and In Defense of Animals was very involved in this as well, when they are relentless and never give up. It looked like an absolute David and Goliath battle. And so congrats. We have to celebrate our victories because they're few and far between, but they give us hope. So on the other side, I want to show you just a quick little bit of what I've been involved in over the last few days. It's been hellish, of course. with the fires, and it has really just devastated so many people we know. Speaking of In Defense of Animals, Lisa Levinson, who is an incredible leader at In Defense of Animals, literally lost her boyfriend to fire. He died in the fire. Also, a vegan restaurant in Altadena, the owner, the elderly owner, lost his restaurant, burned to the ground, his home burned to the ground, and his car burned to the ground. So it has seriously impacted the vegan community. And we've been involved 24/7 around the clock, working with rescue groups to get the word out about animals who remain trapped in the fire zone. And now with the approaching rains, there's a huge battle over whether a bulldozer should be allowed in, while people whose pets are still lost are not being given a substantial opportunity to rescue their pets. So let me go to that right now and play a little bit of that, and then we're going to talk some more. Hold on a second. All breaking news. So thank you for your patience as we bring you these very just created reports. Another alarm bell from Mother Nature has just gone off. And the question is it too late, or can we still change the outcome? Thank you for joining us for this Unchain TV special report. I'm Jane Velez-Mitchell. One of the most catastrophic wildfires in American history has torn through Southern California. I'm here in Los Angeles along the iconic Pacific Coast Highway, which has long been famous for its breathtaking beauty and its many luxury homes owned by celebrities. Well, now this stretch of road tells a very different story, a story of loss, of devastation, a story of horror. We're about to join our Unchained TV town hall, but first, let's take a look at how these horrific events unfolded. On Tuesday, January 7th, 2025, a wildfire ignited in the idyllic community of Pacific Palisades. While wildfires are a known threat in Los Angeles, no one could have anticipated the utter devastation that followed. Fueled by seasonal Santa Ana winds, hurricane-force gusts, and record-breaking drought, the fire became one of the most catastrophic in U.S. history. Now, I'll just stop it there. If you want to watch more of it, just go on to watch Unchained TV. I hope most of you have our streaming app already, which you can get on your TV through streaming devices, or you can just get it right on your phone, all free. You can also watch online, watch unchainedtv.com. So we offer all of this for free. It's just really important, I think, for us to remember right now that this is just the appetizer of climate change and climate catastrophe and climate crisis that is going to get worse and worse and worse. And all of us, you and me, are in the situation where we have the solution and nobody's listening to us. So it's frustrating, to put it mildly, and I'm sure you all share that frustration. So where does that leave us? Well, I'd like to discuss a little bit of what Unchained TV is doing to spread the word, because, you know, we keep talking about talking to people one-on-one, but the fact is that with 8.2 billion human beings on this planet, we can't one-on-one our way to a solution. Even if we want to think about, okay, we want to get to 3.5% of the population, some people say that could be the tipping point. We've got to use every single form of mass media that we can. I mean, just to go back to Michael, when Michael's out there going live on Facebook, he's showing the cube of truth to hundreds of people. When we do it on TikTok, it's often thousands of people. And of course, our streaming network is reaching many thousands of people. And we have plans to expand to a much broader global audience, which I'd like to tell you about now. So let me share my screen and bring you up to date on what Unchain TV has been doing. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about challenges and solutions. So can everybody see this chart right here?
Yes, it's not full screen, but we see it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to keep it as large as I can, but if I go to full screen, sometimes then I lose all the other things. So, okay, Unchained TV 2024 highlights. So our original series At Home with the Jenners has won the prestigious Joie de Vivre Taste Award. The Taste Awards are considered the Oscars of food programming for TV and film. And also the same vegan cooking show starring Brandon Jenner and his wife Kaylee. Brandon, of course, famous reality star from Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and his wife Kaylee are vegan. And they allowed us into their home to film. And here are some of the other nominations. And we got some coverage on that in the news. We have another original series, Kale Crew, 15 episodes shot so far, starring restaurateur Nemanja Golubovic, who has an incredible restaurant called Kale My Name in Chicago, and his co-host Tamika Price also got 5 nominations, and we got some write-ups on that. Season 2, which he is shooting right now as we speak in Miami, will feature Nemanja and a different co-host every episode. We've already had Jamie Logan on the first episode and Tori Washington on the second episode. We're also happy to say that our hit plant-based cooking show, New Day, New Chef, which is 30 episodes, is now on Gusto TV. Now, Gusto TV, it's airing 3 times a week on Gusto, and that's an hour on Gusto, is known as the world's best food channel. And we're some of the only vegan content on that very powerful network that appears in 160 countries. So that's a huge way of getting the word out in a positive, upbeat way. Great vegan cooking with many celebrities and others who are doing great cooking and having a lot of fun doing it. We are also on PBS stations around the country, New Day, New Chef, reaching 87% of the markets in which PBS broadcasts, including big markets like New York and LA and small markets. So the new season stars Jamie Logan and some favorite chefs, such as Chef Babette, who we all know and love. And again, that's on PBS stations around the country. Now, we have a report, which you won't see, but take my word for it, 51 pages of attachments. The bottom line is, since we launched the first episode of New Day, New Chef in 2017 until today, the potential audience is more than 300 million for the 10,000 telecasts that we've had so far. We also have our original series, the world's first reality TV series starring pigs, called Pig Little Lies. It's been re-edited into a 1-hour movie, and it is showing on PBS stations as well as the PBS app. So there you go. And At Home with the Jenners is going to start running on PBS as well. Now, here's a big breakthrough. Unchained TV is set to supersize globally. In a breakthrough development, we are branching out into FAST channels. That stands for free ad-supported television, a fast-growing sector of the TV landscape. We've partnered with a company called SoFast, one of the leading fast channel distributors, to create an Unchained TV fast channel currently featuring 100 hours of vegan programming with a commitment to add at least 25 hours of fresh programming every year. And so this is a huge challenge to get high quality. We can't put Zooms or even the podcasts that I do on there. We really have to have something that you would expect to see if you went on a Netflix or on an Amazon Prime. So it's high quality vegan content. I urge everybody, if you know of any great vegan content that is available, reach out, let me know, connect me. And this channel is already scheduled to be shown on a variety of platforms that I'm listing here, and more to come. So That's very exciting. It's got the potential to reach millions of users worldwide. We're also on In the Black Network now. We have our own channel, Unchain TV. They're on In the Black Network, featuring some of the African American leaders that we've showcased. And you can just see some of them, the amazing Gabrielle Reyes, the singing vegan chef, and we've got Kale Crew as well, and there's Genesis Butler and various others. So you can see that we're taking the content that we have on Unchained TV and distributing it further so that it's just about eyeballs, eyeballs, eyeballs. Now, our streaming network, which is the plant-based CNN Netflix, is now streaming almost 2,000 videos, cooking shows, biographies, documentaries. We're growing 400,000 plus minutes viewed over the last 6 months of 2024 and growing. Among the highlights, we are now kind of replicating what the mainstream media used to do much more, but still does to a certain degree, is live trial coverage. So we were the pool camera going live inside the Wisconsin courtroom as activist attorney Wayne Shung argued for a special prosecutor to investigate the infamous Ridgeland Beagle breeding facility. This was a breakthrough. We, Unchained TV, we were the pool camera live inside the courtroom. And guess what? The judge ultimately decided in favor of the animal activists, a groundbreaking win for animals. There you see our live, it's a snapshot of our live video coverage as Wayne Shung took the stand to testify. And we were also the first news organization to interview live persecuted New York sanctuary owner Tracy Murphy after the trumped-up charges against her were dismissed, ending a long and agonizing saga for this very brave woman who stood up. She was literally shackled and paraded around like a scarlet letter case because she allowed 2 cows that wandered onto her property to stay with her. And we covered that extensively. All right. And as we just mentioned, we have led the way covering a town hall on the fires, showcasing the victims as well as the rescuers. And that gives you an overview of some of the things that we're doing. So we are doing as much as we can, working around the clock with a very, very tiny group of people, literally, And then, of course, we have our amazing volunteers, many of whom are on this call. Lindsay Baker, Paige Parsons-Roach, Michael Perticilla. I don't want to mispronounce your last name. I always do it. But incredible activists, and I may be missing some others who were on because I did not get a chance to see everybody. But you know who you are, doing incredible work, and always with the support of Dr. Rao. Thank you, Dr. Rao, for giving us an opportunity to tell our story because, we have to support each other. And I think that you epitomize that, supporting other organizations. Let's unify. If it's one thing I leave everybody with, if you don't like what somebody else is doing, you do your own thing. You don't have to criticize what somebody else is doing. So let's be unified. Anytime we're fighting the other side, the meat industry is clapping and saying, go, keep fighting. So I wanted to share one more screen that goes over some of the stuff that is the challenges. Okay, so let me get rid of this and just go to the challenges. Now, can you see this that says Brooke Rollins?
What we see is to reduce budget, and it doesn't show the full paragraph.
Okay, so let me stop the share and we'll make this happen correctly. Things are happening, obviously, in our government that we have to be aware of. And, we're powerless over a lot of things, but I think it's better to know what the situation is, and then we can figure out how to deal with it. So now, can you see this picture of this woman with the dark hair?
Yes, perfect.
That is the likely incoming Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins. So what I'm going to show you are just information has literally been coming in the last 24 hours. This is from the Center for a Humane Economy. This woman, the incoming Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins, according to the Center for a Humane Economy, repeats factory farmers' false claims about Prop 12 and the EATS Act. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, Prop 12 banned pig gestation crates. Any product that involved pig gestation crates cannot be sold in California, which is the 5th largest economy in the world. Therefore, it impacts the entire nation, and it has inspired a lot of these pork producers to start eliminating, at least that's what they say, these horrific pig gestation crates where these pigs can't turn around. The EATS Act is I would say, evil attempt to roll back all protections for factory farm animals across the board. So here's where it gets confusing. Pay close attention, because we're going to need all eyes and ears on these subjects to counteract this and deal with it effectively. So there she is. And here's what the Center for Humane Economy says at her confirmation hearing in a Senate committee. Brooke Rollins, the nominee for U.S. Agriculture Secretary, gave a pretty full-throated defense for overturning Prop 12 and supporting the EATS Act in Congress. It was a terrible disappointment. She was fed a lie by big pork. Rollins is not only implicitly defending cruelty, but undermining states' rights and threatening to undercut farmers who have collectively invested hundreds of millions of dollars to adapt to changing markets. Let's be clear, the leaders at the National Pork Producers Council don't have a clue about animal welfare. And by the way, this went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court sided, and so Prop 12 is still the law, but the big ag is doing everything it can to try to roll it back. So it was a terrible disappointment that this incoming agriculture secretary seemed to be speaking in favor of the EATS Act and rolling back Prop 12. But here's where it gets weird. So a couple of days earlier, I had gotten this article sent to me. This is VOA News. Trump's agriculture secretary, this is the same woman, led groups opposed to ethanol and farm subsidies. President Trump's pick to run the agriculture department, Brooke Rollins, led an organization that opposed, forget about ethanol for a second, farm subsidies, major programs she could influence if confirmed. That background may put Rollins at odds with farm state lawmakers at her nomination hearing. During Rollins' tenure at this group also called for the elimination of farm subsidies in a 2016 report titled The Policymaker's Guide to Corporate Welfare. The report said offering loan guarantees to farmers to start or expand their operations, quote, introduces distortions into the marketplace, end quote. Well, that sounds like something we would say. That sounds very positive. The USDA issues billions of dollars in direct and guaranteed loans each year to support the domestic farm economy. So which is it? Or is this a case of somebody who just wants to get confirmed and will say anything to get confirmed and then might do something different? I don't know. I am not a psychic, but it's certainly concerning and confusing. So we have to just process everything in all its confusion and see what we can do. Now, here was an article I'd gotten a little earlier when I was a little bit more optimistic. January 6th, Trump's cabinet lineup so far is surprisingly pro-animal, the Washington Post. And the subheader is, as Vivek Ramaswamy put it, animal cruelty will eventually become a genuine concern for conservatives. However, unfortunately, Vivek Ramaswamy has stepped down from the so-called DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, that he and Elon Musk were running. So Vivek Ramaswamy is a vegetarian and has spoken out against animal cruelty and the consumption of animals. So the fact that he left is a big disappointment. However, just to add a little more confusion, we also have to deal with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, he's very controversial. By the way, I am only talking about these issues from the perspective of what can we as animal activists do to speak for voiceless animals. All the other controversies, just putting them aside, I'm not getting into that. We're talking just about this issue. So in the Washington Post article, it says the most outspoken of these candidates, Health and Human Services pick, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., spent years going after industrial factory farming, correctly opining in one New York Times op-ed that such farms, quote, emit an enormous amount of pollutants that taint air, land, and water, end quote. In fact, in the 1990s, RFK brought the fight directly to companies such as Chinese-owned Smithfield, which is the largest pork producer in the United States and subjects the millions of farm animals under its dominion to the kind of clinical and torturous lives for which future generations will undoubtedly condemn us. He has also opposed some animal testing. So there you go. But this is the same person who talks about drinking raw milk. You get the point. It's very confusing. What are we to make of it? I'm not coming up with any conclusions at this moment. Now, here's just getting to the end of this. DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, has vowed, initially anyway, to cut $2 trillion from the budget. So this is from the New York Times yesterday. Musk plans for retooling government take shape, but big questions loom. That's the understatement of the century. So I actually tried to write a comment, which was not published. And just on the off chance that Elon Musk might be reading comments about his New York Times article, but they didn't publish it. Elon Musk, please read this. There is a way for you to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget. The new farm bill has not been passed yet, and it is packed with many billions in corporate welfare for giant companies that engage in factory farming via CAFOs, concentrated animal feeding operations. Some estimate the U.S. government subsidies contained in the proposed farm bill could reach $1 trillion if projected out over a decade, with insurance reimbursements to farmers who are actually giant corporations pushing real mom and pop farmers out, massive subsidies to commodity crops like soy and corn that make fast food artificially cheap rates for animal grazing on public lands, etc. If you eliminate these subsidies, it would also drastically reduce America's healthcare costs, as the health of Americans would improve as the price of unhealthy fast food increases to market levels. Kind of sounds what this incoming agriculture secretary was talking about, at least according to a report about a group that she ran back in 2016. The government itself admits that most revenue in the dairy sector comes from the U.S. government itself, pushing it in schools, institutions, etc., promoting it with USDA checkoff programs like Got Milk, and buying it up when there's a glut. Not logical, since the NIH itself says 67% of the population experiences lactose malabsorption. Please look into gutting the farm bill. This is an elegant solution to your challenge that will also benefit the American people. Let the law of supply and demand rule and end this corporate socialism for the benefit of big ag and big pharma. Now, my bottom line is there some way that we can get this message to Elon Musk, who has said he wants to cut $2 trillion from the budget? And there's been many articles written about how he's not going to be able to do it because so many things are locked in and there's laws in place and protections in place and processes. But the new farm bill has not been passed yet. And let's be real. As the farm bill goes, so goes our movement. As long as meat and dairy is artificially cheap due to government subsidies, it's going to be very hard to convince people to go for something else. This is the most important thing. And it's certainly a David and Goliath battle, but it just so happens that it dovetails with Elon Musk's determination, supposedly, reportedly, to cut $2 trillion from the budget. And he hasn't been able to find other ways. We've got to get this message to him. And it doesn't have to be from an animal rights perspective. This is not an animal rights activist. You could add climate, but he's the same person who just went on Joe Rogan and said, you can eat all the meat you want. It has no impact on the climate. So that's a blatant lie. So how do we get this message to him? That's something that, I think we need to grapple with. Now, I just want to say that before we get into the Q&A, this is clearly a bipartisan problem. I just got this email this morning. Can I introduce myself? It's Blake Gendon, blah, blah, the dairy farmer Democrat running to replace blah, blah. Like, the Democrats are always promoting dairy. They're always speaking up for so-called farmers, the dairy industry, the farm industry. They either have no clue, or they're just pandering, or they just don't care. They don't care about climate change. So I say this because it's a bipartisan problem. And that's pretty much the end of my presentation, except that I could read the letter that we've been trying to get as an op-ed a few of us have met and said, well, maybe if we write an op-ed and publish it. Now, a wonderful person who works with Free From Harm tried to get this published in the Washington Times. They rejected her. She submitted it 3 times. But it basically says to reduce budget and massive government subsidies to the industrial agriculture secretary. It's a long one, so I will only read the first paragraph. As heads of President-elect Trump's proposed Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, now it's just Elon Musk, is charged with cutting $2 trillion in government spending. It's a tall order because many of the federal government's largest expenses, like Medicare and Social Security, are fixed. I have a proposal, however, that would not only make an immediate cut to the $2 trillion, but would also reduce the federal government's exorbitant expenditures on health care. And we make the same point that I made in that little comment to the New York Times that they didn't publish. And they probably, in fairness, they didn't publish it because I said, Elon must read this. That was probably a mistake. So I see this as the problem that we face. It's the government is creating the healthcare crisis with its subsidies of animal agriculture. The government is fueling the climate crisis with its subsidies to animal agriculture. And the government is largely responsible for the torture of billions of animals by subsidizing animal agriculture and industrialized farming. And is there an opportunity for people who may not care a whit about animals, but who just want to cut the budget to look at the Farm Bill, which has not yet passed? That's the question. I do not have the answer. We even talked, a couple of us, about maybe we just create an ad and put it in like Politico or the Washington Times. Now that's expensive, but a full page ad that says, hey, Elon, you want to cut the budget? Here's how to do it. What are we going to do? We've also put Donnie Moss of theirturn.net, who's an incredible activist and brilliant, and who also went over this op-ed with us. He has been tweeting about this, Xing about it, and trying to reach Elon Musk, since Elon Musk owns X. So far, no success. How do you reach somebody who has the power, possibly, to do something about this, but we can't seem to get through? So that's where I'll leave it off, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've got some victories. We've got some headway that we're making. But the last thing I will say, I have to give a plug. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. I would urge everybody, just go to, and I'll put it in the chat, unchaintv.com/donate and become a monthly donor. $5, $10, $15 a month. For the price of a cup of tea, you can be part of our team and help us. And it really makes a difference because our donors also like to see that we have small donors that are on our side. So it's really important to get those monthly donors. So I'll put it in the chat. If you could take a minute to go to unchaintv.com/donate and become a monthly donor. Again, $5 a month. We have a lot of $5 a month donors. It's great. Every time I see one. And it also is inspiring personally to me. I feel like we're not just doing this with 2 or 3, 4 people. We've got a team behind us. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Jane. Oops, we'll put you back up there. There we go.
Go ahead. There we go. Unchaintv.com/donate, people. Okay.
Okay, say it again, Jane, because I may have been talking.
Unchaintv.com/donate.
All right, very good. I tell you what I love, there's so many things I love about your program and you, but I love that you will go ahead and share the news as it comes out, and you're helping us make sense of it and telling us also where we can go so that we can come up with answers of our own of how we can do this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's see, we've got plenty of time. So I see that I'm going to let the online person, Danny, do you have a question yourself?
I sure do.
All right, let me bring you up here then. Somebody
Thank you. And Jane, I wanted to ask if you have any um, recorded interviews or interviews, and have you had conversations with, say, Cory Booker, Jamie Raskin, any of the vegans on the in
No,
Congress about the
no,
Farm Bill? And how could we
no.
help make that happen?
Well,
Thanks.
it's a good question. I did go to a fundraiser for Cory Booker several years ago, and it was at a fancy place in Beverly Hills. And I went with two friends, and we were the vegans, vegan. And he came up and he hugged us and he goes, "My vegan peeps are here." The event wasn't vegan, but it wasn't his event. It wasn't his house. But the lady said, "We have vegan options." And I was like, "Thanks a lot." Yeah, thank you. But it's not easy to talk to these folks. If we could talk to people in power, we'd be a long way ahead. But no, and they know it. Jamie Raskin knows it. Cory Booker knows it. It's a question of, can Cory Booker, get to these other people? I mean, he's one senator. You know, yes, I wish we could clone him, but no, we don't have a way of getting to them. And I would hope that Cory Booker might be able to talk to RFK Jr. and talk to Elon Musk. We've been trying to figure out, like, how do you get to these people? Now, I was told by somebody who knows a lot of very high powered billionaire types, just from the field he worked in, they have layers and layers and layers and layers of people that you just don't go up to them just like a celebrity, right? They're blocked. So it's not that easy to reach these people. I wish it were.
Okay. If there's any suggestions on how we could maybe support you, I don't know, maybe petition style to have an interview with some of these people, please let us know. Um, let climate healers know anything, I personally could do. I'm, one of the core members of Climate Healers, but I'd like to help get you engaged with Congress to see, what kind of alliance could be built in that
Well,
regard.
I
We
know
do
Direct Action Everywhere is going to DC in March, I believe. And I don't know what they're doing, um, but they are going to be there as a group. So maybe Climate Healers can talk to Wayne Chung and see if there's a way to get, a larger group with more people. And let's hope we're all kind of in agreement. That's the other problem, is the larger the group, the more like, well, we should do this. No, we should do this. So, um, yeah, I think we should be walking the halls of Congress. Easier said than done. But yes, good
thank you.
idea.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. And Jane, what about how expensive would it be to have somebody come up there and have their camera and just be following them around and then you know, get somebody to film asking the question about the subsidies to them? Is that expensive to get a reporter following?
Well, you can't, today everybody's an influencer, but you can't just say you're a reporter and start getting access to Capitol Hill. You have to have credentials. And uh, that's
Oh,
very
oh,
challenging. Yeah, you can't just like pop in there. And, look, we've all tried to get our message. I remember when I tried to get my message out, and that's how I ended up calling Dr. Rao, who did the white paper, because I was so devastated. I was at a big environmental event here in New York, and I mean, here in LA, and basically a big celebrity told me to shut up when I said, "and animal agriculture," because they were talking about fossil fuels. Now, I will say a lot has changed since then. Thanks
mhm.
in large part to the plant-based treaties doing incredible work. LA, first ever LA Climate Week was plant-based by default. In other words, there's like 150 or 200 events, but their opening ceremony, their closing ceremony, and they encourage people to be plant-based. That's a huge breakthrough. We have a Hollywood climate event that's similar. That is, in fact, I was looking at it kind of cynical, like, and then I'm like, oh my God, plant-based, plant-based, plant-based. So we are making progress in the environmental front, but and plant-based treaty and support and feed, run by Maggie Baird, incredible work they're doing. Because when Maggie Baird brings some merch and signage and says, put this up, they put it up. She happens to be Billie
Yeah.
Eilish's mother and an amazing activist on her own. And we've worked with her. She did a whole series, a whole season of New Day, New Chef with us. So she's done incredible work. Plant-Based Treaty has done incredible work. So I think we're making some progress on the environmental front. Certainly not what we would want, but getting there. But Congress, oh, I don't know.
Right. Right. Okay. Thank you. So, Nancy, do you have a question? And all right. So we'll bring Nancy on.
Oh, you're muted, Nancy.
Thank you,
There you go.
Jane. Thank you for all your work. I love you. I love your work. I feel like mass media is the way to go, and you are sort of a part of mass media. For that purpose, I have my own TV show on, public access and my YouTube channel, and I produce T-shirts and I'm writing, et cetera, et cetera. I was wondering if you thought about, let's say, connecting with Dawn Watch, Karen Dawn. She was a media person.
I know her very well, very, very well for decades.
Okay,
She's in
me
Texas
too.
now. I thought she was in Texas. Maybe she's back in town.
I think
No.
she's got, yeah.
Oh, she's back? Okay. Yeah, no, she does. I read all her articles. I love how she pours through all the written articles and she does highlights, and that's very effective. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So I was trying to get her to, I'm also, besides what I'm doing on my own, trying to get people to contact alternative media like Democracy Now, like Zeteo, like Dropsite, like The Intercept, Mother Jones, etc. So because, I find that the left has already moved in the direction of justice for humans. And so, pushing them to see that unless we open our circle of compassion to all living beings, and that it is the number one cause, that animal agriculture is the number one cause and must be dealt with before fossil fuels, according to Sailor Shroud.
Yes, and I want to say something about that. You just brought up some really good points. First of all, yeah, mainstream media, advertiser-based mainstream media, whether it's the liberal station, MSNBC, sorry, I watch it, but I'm appalled quite often when they're like, the farmers, like when they were talking about the continuing resolution, and they want to cut off the farmers. It's like they're not guys in overalls with rakes. These are giant corporations. Wake up, do your homework. But there are independent media. The Guardian is great. They actually published an article the other day with the best headline I've ever seen. And it was basically, animal agriculture is the only culturally accepted genocide. And it was just a really good article. Also, Vox, Marina Bolotnikova, who has written extensively about factory farming and about ventilation shutdown and about direct action everywhere. And she's an incredible reporter. So there's always exceptions to the rule. Those are independent, the Guardian is more of like a trust. They have some kind of a trust backing them, so they're not as beholden to the mainstream media. But one of the things that I've tried to say is, we spend so much time genuflecting in front of the mainstream media to try to get any bit of coverage. But then sometimes we have the greatest contempt for vegan media. And so support vegan media because we're on the side of the animals, the planet, and compassion. And don't always say, well, yeah, but, when CNN started decades and decades ago, everybody made fun of it. They called it chicken noodle news. And Ted Turner had the last laugh because they said nobody wants 24-hour news, blah, blah, blah. And they made fun of him because he was a flamboyant yachtsman, and et cetera. and they didn't take him seriously, and they lost the other media in their basically contempt for him. So I would urge everybody to respect vegan media.
You bet. You bet. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And thank you, Nancy. We
They
have
can
some more
sign up
questions.
for Dawn Watch.
Oh, sorry to
They can
interrupt.
sign up for Dawn Watch so people could get more articles, more editorials, more letters to the editor,
Well,
because
yeah,
the more you have, the greater chances of getting a
I
vegan.
will also say I subscribe to the New York Times. Every animal activist should subscribe to the New York Times. Why? Because you can't comment unless you're a subscriber. And I
Ah,
do get a lot of comments put up there. There was a great article recently that talked about the meat industry's attacks on plant-based meats. It was written by Kara Buckley, and I commented on that. Now, what we need to do is make sure that because some people are like, it's fake, we need real meat. And I was able to reply to a lot of those. And those comments were approved. So everybody, that's another thing. Subscribe to the New York Times because that's what the so-called intelligentsia read. So that's a very important thing to do. It's not
thank you.
cheap. I think it's like 30 some a month, but it's worth it because those articles are so important. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to have Paige. Thank you, Nancy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So, much to my chagrin, I am going to say this. It may be time to partner, that's not quite the word, collaborate with the regenerative agriculture folks in shutting down the farm bill. And the reason I say this is because they have a vested interest in shutting down the CAFOs and concentrated feeding operations and the large animal agriculture. So I'm not sure how to do this because there's that, but I will say that they want regenerative agriculture folks and the small farm folks want to shut down the large operations. And when you think about someone like Kennedy, when you think about that gentleman, he's talking about a small farm getting that fresh milk. He's not talking about a large concentrated feeding operation. So I'm just throwing it out there. It's pretty, whatever, risky, or I don't even know if that's, I can't think, I'm driving. But it's just a thought. And then the other thing I was thinking, Jane, is that flooding, getting letter campaigning going. People can do that at their desk. They can do it from their home. Just continuing to have this letter campaigning and petitioning going, because every time something comes over to me, I'm signing it. I'm forwarding it, sharing it. And a lot of people don't want to leave their homes now, especially in Los Angeles right now with the particulates in the air and so forth. So if there's letters that we can have people sign and petitions we can have signed, I think we can get thousands of people on board across the nation, certainly. So those are my thoughts. But thank you so much, Jane. I've appreciated being a part of the team since 2017 to really date us. And it's been a joyride. And I'm headed to my alma mater in Santa Barbara, and I'm going to a reunion wearing my plant-based treaty right here. And they weren't serving anything at the lunch, so I didn't go, but I'm going to other places today to make statements about making sure there's plenty of plant-based options for me and all the other, for the climate, for the students, for the future, and so forth. So wish me the best of luck taking this VCOP with me to make an impact.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, that's where we make change with these institutions. And yeah, I went to a reunion back in my school in New York, and I specifically said I would like to have vegan options. And they had the big vegan section and then the non-vegan section. And at the end of the day, the vegan section was completely consumed and people hardly touched the meat section. So that made me happy, although sad for the animals who died for no reason, of course. But I just want to say, I hope Paige is still on somewhere because she's an amazing amazing part of Unchained TV, the host of Plant-Based in the Burbs with Sherry Johnson, and just all around amazing activist who it seems never sleeps. And we're very grateful to have her on the team.
I do sleep, but here, if someone would turn on my camera, I just have to show you because this is a very pristine, gorgeous space. So I don't know if we could turn on my camera again, because I do want to show this, because the other thing that is really unique is that, can someone turn on my camera? I don't know. Is that the houses, the apartment that I stayed in over here? Well, I don't know. I guess we're not doing video. I'm trying to, and it fell into the ocean. It literally went into the ocean, and that is, which I didn't think that would happen in my lifetime. I was even thinking about climate crisis back in 1988 when I finished college. But let me just say, it's right here by the ocean, and these apartments are falling in. No joke. And there was actually a student who died, sadly. This was in 2023. And then 2024, probably more stuff happened. But anyway, this establishment's been around for a long time, but it is close to the ocean. And they have environmental science here now. They didn't before. They did not have that as a study. So there is a professor here, by the way, who is vegan, and he brings. And I was a part of his lecture back in 2019. So this is the recharge, y'all. So charge forward to hold the universities accountable through the plant-based treaty initiatives. So anyway, that's it.
Way to go, Paige.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See
Paige.
you later. Okay.
All right, now we have another person in line for a question or comment, and let's bring up Renee King-Sonnen.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey there. Hey, howdy, Jane. Howdy from Texas.
Howdy. It's good to see you, Renee, always.
It's good to see you too. And I just wanted to say, listening to you talk about the subsidies and the Farm Bill and walking the halls of Congress, unfortunately, the Agriculture Fairness Alliance had to close its doors. But, I at one time was, walking those halls of Congress with Connie Spence, and doing everything in our power to reach this like wall and, getting through to these people. It's not easy. As you said, it's like, it's important for people to know how difficult, how much money you have to even get somebody to listen. I mean, we even took Pat Brown, from Impossible Foods with us one time. And, we got in a few more doors, but not enough. It didn't make impact, didn't make near the impact it needed to make, and, of course, a lot of you, guys know about, our rancher advocacy program, trying to transition farms, trying to turn things around. There was no farm transition programs, and until I started talking about it back years ago. But it ain't easy, because why? Subsidies don't flow in the direction of farmers that want to go plant-based for people. And so, my question, that's a comment. I wanted to say all that. But my real question here, because you are an ally, sister to me, is how do we across the country and the world, well, really the country, the United States, how do we get together to make the kind of impact that we need to get this ear? I heard you about the ad in the New York Times, and I think that is, if we could all get together and donate money to do that, I mean, because we've got to get heard. I mean, I know how hard Connie and I tried. I know how hard it is. A lot of people want to romanticize all that and think it's so freaking easy. It is not. It is not. It is bipartisan, and our government is just warped from the inside out. So anyway, how do we do that? How can we take people that really care and that want to, but just have gotten beat up trying? I mean, I tried to transition a farm. I know how hard it is. Even with the money, even with all the money, how do we do it?
Well, if I had the answer to that question, I would be, you know, seventh heaven, because that is also what I think about. And I was talking to somebody who dealt with a lot of these very powerful billionaire types, and he said you can't get to them. They have walls, they have assistants who have assistants who have assistants who have assistants. And so then we said maybe place an ad in a conservative journal like the Washington Times. So that's something we should explore. And you'd have to get them to publish it too. They might not publish it. So we're dealing with basically an information shutdown. And, somebody else asked, how do we get dedicated vegan animal rights beat reporters at CBS News, NBC News, ABC News, or CNN? Well, look.
They're bought.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a show on CNN Headline News for 6 years, and I got it because I was doing fill-in work for Nancy. And then when I did get the show, because the host who was on prior to Nancy reportedly stormed off the set in a huff, and they wanted to replace him quickly, and they called me and they said, would you like a show? And I said, yes. And they said, okay, we're going to call it Issues with Jane Velez-Mitchell. I said, great, because I've got a lot of issues. And I asked them just very casually, I said, would you mind if I did a little animal segment once a week? And they went, no, I guess that's okay. They probably thought pet adoptions, but I started doing the pig gestation crates and the hardcore activism. And for 6 years, I did a little segment every Friday. That was a precursor to our nonprofit that we have today. By hook or by crook, a lot of the people, and I've got several who are working with me now, who were in mainstream media, left because they couldn't stand it. Okay? They couldn't stand, because you've got to rock the boat. You're told, oh, here's a kicker story about a rodeo. And isn't that fun? And the rodeo's this weekend. You go, I won't read that. So right away, you're putting yourself in a position of going up against the authority. And so it's very tricky. You've got carnist media. Is there any way to contribute to Unchain TV other than PayPal? Yeah, I mean, let's see. There's got to be another way. I mean, we have, you can donate. It goes through PayPal, but it's not PayPal. That's just the delivery system, just so you know. It's the way most of these donor things work, because to set up your own personal like cash register is so expensive and problematical and glitchy. But we can always take a donation in old-fashioned checks. We'll take that. And I will, whoever that is, Allison. Okay, Allison, I'll get back to you. Yeah. So we're dealing with a carnist society. Dr. Melanie Joy talks about this so brilliantly. All the institutions have been co-opted by carnist industries and mentalities. So you're talking about the news media is the worst promoter of the meat. That's why to get on
They're
one
bought.
of these.
That's what I was saying. They're bought and paid for.
And the government is bought, and the courts are bought. Except that the Supreme Court did uphold Prop 12, thank God. But I mean, they've also determined that corporations are people and animals are not. So, I don't know.
Other than disrupt the whole system and upend everything, I'm the type of person that never gives up. I don't give up. I didn't say
I think we're talking reach the top. That's why it's very important to have a groundswell. When the people decide this is not going to happen anymore. Now, I'll just go back to my own teenagehood, the Vietnam War, okay? And my dad happened to be a conservative Republican who actually was in the advertising business and did advertising for Nixon. I remember because I was young, obviously. We had a Nixon's the one bumper sticker. And I asked my dad, why is everybody giving us the finger when we're driving around? It's the truth. And, but I decided that I didn't agree with him and we would have political arguments because I was against the Vietnam War. It was the classic dad and kid having, debates over the dinner table. And you know, Joan Baez said, I believe it was Joan Baez or Joni Mitchell, one of them. I was listening to the BBC or one of those, and she said, you know, until music entered the equation, the anti-war movement was a political movement, and people who are not into politics didn't really relate to it. But then when the culture started embracing the anti-war movement, like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Four Dead in Ohio and all of that, it became a cultural movement. So I think we need a cultural movement. And somebody had said something about right here, Danny, plant-based universities have achieved success in the UK. How can we accelerate on US college campuses? Well, New Roots Institute is doing a lot of work on college campuses. I covered the first ever UCLA Veg Fest, organized by a whole bunch of groups, different animal rights groups at campus who got together. And I said, even in the report, I said, you're an example for the adults who seem to always bicker and fight, and all you different groups.
That's the problem right there.
Came together.
If you even get a cultural revolution, try to get it started, getting anybody to agree. Everybody fights in our movement.
Well, we got to stop that for sure. But you know, it happens in a lot of movements too. If you look at the suffragette movement, the civil rights movement, you have these different kinds of groups. One is like the Black Panthers, one is like more, you know, a different vibe. So it happens in any kind of a social justice movement. You see that. But I say dialectics, argument and counter argument to reach a higher understanding of the given subject matter can be helpful, but vitriol and personal attacks and Facebook attacks, that's got to go, and just don't tolerate it. Anybody who engages in that, ixnay. You know, and I don't engage in it, and I avoid it at all costs. I do not want to get dragged into it.
Did you just speak Pig Latin?
Uday, Itzbay, Atlay?
Oh my goodness. I think we're going to have to end on this foreign language that you two have come up with. I'm just kidding.
Thank you so much for giving us the time. It's always good to end on a note of hilarity. And I love you, Renee. And thank you, BJ, for everything you do. I appreciate all your hard work, and you're somebody. But I want to say one last thing before we go.
Oh, and this is we've got time for that. Go ahead. You bet.
Okay. We've got to tell the story of climate change in a way that people can understand. What I'm seeing, and I look at a lot of these videos and stuff, is that we have some that are too intellectual. Like, I don't know what hectares are. And as soon as I hear that word, I tune out. I don't even know what arable land is. I just would like another word. So we need people terms. We need somebody to lay it out in a positive, simple way, but professionally done, not on Zoom. And it can't be too intellectual, but it also can't be too childish, where you're thinking, is this for children? It's got to be straightforward. We need something like that. We need a basic, like 20-minute primer that is professionally produced with all the stats, because sometimes I'm trying to remember, wait, is it most of the usable land is used for animal agriculture? Is it most of the land is for agriculture, but then most of that land is animal agriculture? There's too many facts floating around. We need a fact sheet that breaks it down. We need a very simple but professionally produced, not on Zoom, conversational explanation, and we need it now. That's the last thing I'll say.
Thank you so much, Jane. We so appreciate it. The conversation, the information, and so much. The direction.